We'll just do it now. Anyway, it's fine. If anybody comes in late, then they can jump in and we can always sort of explain a little bit, or they can always ask a question if there's something that they missed. But yeah, so presenting today, we'll have a group that sort of already established themselves a little bit, although they won't be particularly well known by anyone, which is Bulletin. So I'm going to invite Isla and Panday up to speak, and they'll be able to share what it is that they've been working on, which is a very, very exciting project from my perspective anyway. So take it away, you guys.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. So we are here with Bulletin, and with Bulletin, our goal is to revolutionize the news creation. And I am Ila, the project lead at Bulletin, and with me there's Subhash, the blockchain lead. So let's begin. I'm sorry. So there's two main pillars of Bulletin: artificial intelligence and blockchain. And the problems that we're trying to address with Bulletin, the major problems are news fatigue. So we're dealing with news fatigue and endless headlines. You feel disengaged and there's information overload. You're bombarded with so much of data, but you're unsure what's reliable, what's biased, or what's even relevant. And even the journalists face challenges in transforming the raw data into compelling news stories. And then, of course, static content. Articles just drone in and they fail to capture your attention or truly immerse you in the story. So this is the future that we're trying to create with Bulletin, a future where news is dynamically visualized, engaging, trustworthy, and most importantly, interactive. So now, why Bulletin? So Bulletin gives you effortless creation. Bulletin integrates artificial intelligence with user-friendly interfaces, making it easier and faster to create impactful news and media content. And then, of course, interactive experiences. Well, Bulletin transforms the raw data and information into engaging narratives with captivating visuals, dynamic graphs, and then graphics to present the complex data and information into a much clear and engaging way. And of course, there's a blockchain. So Bulletin consists of this blockchain integration, prioritizes accessibility, especially in the economic side of things. Now, there's two main things about Bulletin that I'd like to highlight mostly. One is our AI model. So as you can see, we've got AI models, and then proof of news. So proof of news is it's a Bulletin mechanism which ensures that the quality of the news is maintained, and it also plays a major role in optimizing content recognition. It's basically a reward mechanism that makes our ecosystem secure and trustworthy, and you can earn Bulletin scores, and of course it maintains the unbiased nature. So now let's talk about the use of Commune AI here. So we're going to use Commune AI to provide our users access to advanced AI-powered tools for the content creation process. And so in Commune AI, we'll be creating our own dedicated subnet where miners and validators can use news API of our operators for various tasks like labeling news, summarizing news, thumbnail generation, and data visualization of the news content. So the operators would be the media houses. So they would basically train new AI models. They would feed in the data and then train the AI models, and that's where Commune AI would be used. And there's three more actors: delegators, news creators, and contributors. We can get to that later. But yeah, we recently launched our website and white paper, so I'll pass it on to Subhas. Subhas, would you like to continue?
Hi, it's me, Pandey. So with the role of blockchain lead at Bit Bulletin. So I will share my screen. Hope I think the screen is visible. So we have a bulletin is currently in its early developing stage, and so having launched our site just about 10 to 15 days ago, I encourage you to explore our white paper also. So it's white paper also, which provides the detailed overview of our platform, vision, and capabilities. Additionally, feel free to visit our website to experience the bulletin firsthand. By the end of this month, we will have our own AI model too. Also, we have a validator now on Subnet O called the Bulletin News. So you can find us on live by visiting the bulletin technologies, and you can read the documents of the bulletin in our and the white paper also. So I think that's
Brilliant. Feel free to link the website and the white paper in the event stage chat channel, so that anybody can have a look if they want to for now. But when we spoke before, one of the key points to focus in on was that this was a project that intends to add dynamic visualization to the majority of news articles primarily, correct?
Yes.
So the main goal is to take a lot of these news articles that, as were mentioned, sort of contribute to news fatigue. You know, a lot of articles
Mhm.
generally look quite similar. They're just generally nothing but wording, and they can kind of drone on a lot. And it gives effectively the idea is that it's going to allow you to use other templates or create templates for others to use, depending on whether or not you're going to be an operator or a delegator, for example. And then these are effectively going to transform the visualization of the majority of news articles.
Yes, you got it. So the major focus would be on optimizing the news article rather than generating it. So there will be the news, the text already, and then for the like visualization side of things, like there may be a lot of data that needs to be showcased in form of charts or graphs, or there could be some kind of graphics that could be integrated with the text in order to make the news more easy to grasp. And yes, and then there'll also be like um, so it's the age of social media, right? So we'd also create a tool. I mean, we're working on it. So we'd feed in the news, we're feeding the articles into our tool, and then our tool would provide a shareable snippet of a shareable form, like a shareable form in Instagram or a shareable form in Twitter, like instantly generate the shareable news so that they won't have to, so that the journalists and the writers will not have to, do those tasks, and instead they can focus on bringing quality news.
Okay, so it's sort of going to aid in like multi-platform accessibility by allowing you to sort of press one button and it will publish to sort of as many selected sites as the input allows.
Yeah, so rather than just on the publishing side, we'd provide them with the like shareable like we generate the post using the news. So
Okay.
yeah, that's the main idea in the social media side. But of course, news optimization in itself is the main focus.
Thanks for the presentation, Ila and Subhash. I have a few questions. I saw Subhash, when you went through the website, there was a section of tokenomics. And I think there was a mention from you, Ila, about some scoreboard or some bulletin points. Is that something to do with your own token, or is that something you care to elaborate on?
Yes, so bulletin score. Okay, just a moment.
And maybe there's no connection between that, because maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe you're not intending to launch a token, but I think I saw that on the in the docs? I'm just
No,
curious
we
about
are,
how a
yeah.
user or miner might earn them.
Mhm.
Yes, we will launch our own bulletin score, which is called the Bullet coin. So you can own it. BTNT, it's called the BTNT. So we'll have our own coin. The creators and the reviewers can own the coin of ours on. So as we are on the blockchain, so they can utilize the coin also.
So
Okay,
I'm going to elaborate a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah. So back to the pitch deck once. I'll elaborate on the actors, so maybe you guys can understand it a little better. So
Mhm.
there's an operator and there's delegators. So the operators are the news houses, media houses who would train the AI model, right? So I hope you got that. And then there's delegators. So delegators are also media houses, and they could also be readers, but they wouldn't be training new AI models, but they would be using the AI models that are already existing, already trained by the operators. So in doing that, they would contribute tokens to the operators. And then there's news creators. So the news creators would just use the platform in order to give output to the news consumers. And then there's contributors. So like contributors would be the readers who would interact with the news and who would also give valuable feedback to us. So they would earn reward by providing feedback into the news. So that's the main idea, the architecture of the system. And
Okay, so
yeah,
that
there's
means
BTN.
as an end user or contributor, then I could earn tokens by providing valuable feedback, and the operator up at the top, is he only, that's the miner and validator, are they also earning the BNT, the bulletin token as well when they validate and mine?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
There is actually a breakdown of the proposed contributions for the emissions on the website as well. So if anybody who's interested, there's like a breakdown of what percentiles would roughly go to the different schools. For anybody who wanted a little bit more information on that.
And then I have another
Yes, please.
question to you, Ila and Subash, and that's I'm curious just how you came up with this. Are you guys from a news agency, or do you have a background in this stuff, or how did you come about to do this project?
Well, yeah. So I used right now I don't, but I used to work in a news house, and I faced a lot of problems in there, like in-house, with this, like they're struggling to leap from the traditional news traditional way of writing and distributing news to this digitalized world. So there, I saw a lot of gap in there, and so from then I had been thinking that okay, I want to do something for the news. And then when I found the right team with like-minded, goal, and then we began this.
I like that. It's always nice when you see people coming from having some experience and then actually identifying gaps, and then you find a technology that might actually help you to sort of fill those gaps. So that's nice. Thanks for the background.
Thank you.
If anybody else has any questions, obviously feel free via text in the text channel. But I just wanted to reiterate again, Bulletin do have a validator up, which is Bulletin News. So for everybody who is interested in this, because I think this is, like I said, I'm very excited for this project. I think it looks really, really interesting. Again, feel free to support them and stake to the Bulletin News validator to help them out. 'Cause I think,
Which
go ahead.
subnet is that validator on? Is it on subnet 0
Subnet
or is this?
0.
Oh, okay, so
Yes,
you're
it's
still
on
working on getting your
submission.
subnet up. Okay, great.
Yeah, they're still working on the subnet
Mhm.
activation, but for now, there's that
Very
one
cool.
there.
This
But yeah,
is an
Yeah, it
awesome
would
project.
be.
I love this. The use case just makes sense. right? We're inundated with so much information out there, and a way to kind of like curate that automatically for us based on our preferences. Like it makes a lot of sense. It's a great idea.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and yeah, so our subnet, like our validator is up on subnet 0. It's called Bulletin News. I'll also write it on the channel. But yeah, your support would mean a great deal. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
everyone,
worries.
seriously, back these guys. This is great. That presentation was fantastic, by the way. Very, very well done. I'm impressed. You
Thank
guys
you
did a
so
good job. It
much.
was well thought through. Visually, it was striking. It was great. Baco in the chat offered to help you guys with your subnet. If you guys need any help, he's available for you. This is great. This is just fantastic. So I'm very impressed.
Thank you. Well, thank you for this opportunity today.
No, I mean you're taking the bull by the horns. You've got a great idea, great presentation. You're approaching everything in a really great way. It's our honor to be able to help you as opposed to the other way around.
So much. Thank you.
But I don't think anybody else has any questions, so I will say thank you so much for the great presentation. And we're excited to see where you guys can take things from here.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Looking
Cheers. Thank you very
forward.
much.
Thank you, team.
Thank you very much. Right. I don't know if there's anything else specifically, but I don't know if if you wanted to talk about the recent announcement and the updates to the commune management bounty portal. Potentially. You are muted at the moment if you weren't aware.
Paging fam. Okay. Do you,
We can go ahead
Cool
and move
Racer, have
on.
anything? Or Baco, maybe? You guys usually have some cool stuff to share with us.
Yeah, I kind of want to tease a little bit of something that's in the works. It's a little bit in the sort of alpha kind of, but we are working on a vector database, which is really nice, and something that I want to explain because I don't think everyone knows what that means. You know, it can be a little bit of word salad out there in the AI space. So when I say vector store or vector database, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a database, so a place to store information, but specifically it's storing like text data in a way that AI kind of understands better. Because AI is all about numbers, believe it or not. So all the strings, like every PDF page, everything like that the training data, it really gets correlated with numbers and how those numbers correlate with each other. Because AI is all about patterns and pattern matching, essentially. So what happens is, here's the concept. Let's say you have a model, it's really smart, it's great, but it doesn't know, like, here's a good example. Let's say I have my statement, a bill from my my electric company, but I don't know how to read parts of it because you know how they use weird terminology. Well, Llama 3 or even ChatGPT doesn't know about my bill. It knows about electric company, but doesn't know about my bill. So what we're doing is we're making a vector store. So what I could do is take that bill and upload it into the vector store, and then the chatbot, you ask it a question and the chatbot will go retrieve that information from the vector store and then be able to talk to it and talk about it. Not talk to it, I mean more like speak to it, right? So it's kind of like, think of it this way. AI models are like brains, but more like thinking brains. They're not memory. They don't have memory, but memory is what the vector stores are. So that's kind of giving it something to relate to and think about. So by giving it my bill, it can say, oh, hey, Cool Razor, you had a bill of whatever it was this month, and here's the breakdown. And it could explain everything on that thing because now it has my bill in its memory. So and other terms that you might have heard is RAG. It's like retrieval something, and that's another term that they use for this in the AI space. Anyway, so A long-winded answer, but the point being is that we're working on a subnet that handles that. So what'll be nice is it's very hyper-focused right now anyway on the memory side, right? The vector store side. And what's cool about that is once that's up and running, then these other AI tools can utilize it. In fact, what we just saw was a presentation on the news side of it about training AI models. But that would actually potentially be really a great consumer of our subnet for the memory part. Like maybe we'd have to talk about it, but so this is very theoretical, but the way it could work is that let's say we want to there's an AI model that's trained on the news and it's all about financials and all financial news. That's great. That's what their subnet's doing. But what if I wanted to correlate to my stock report for my stock portfolio? That's not public information, but I could download my PDF statements from whatever, stock broker that I'm using, upload it into my RAG database vector store, and now the AI bot could relate the news and how it affects or how it relates to my stock portfolio, because now it knows that because I put it into the memory and it's not necessarily public. So that's where it's kind of like, oh, you can start stringing these things together. So like the subnets are great, and it's really cool when they're like separated and modular like this. And that's kind of the beauty of Commune, is that it's interoperability. So once we get like these foundational, and I love that word, foundational subnets, we can start stringing them together so that services can like utilize different pieces from different subnets to do a thing. So we're specifically focusing on working on the memory side of it. So the AIs can have memories, and we're very excited about it. We're doing kind of a soft launch really, really, really soon, and then we're gonna like mature it, test it, make sure it's really great, and then we'll bring it to ShowCase pretty soon. But that's just something that's in the works. I wanted to let you guys know about. There's also some tokenomics things in the works. Some of it has already gone in place, and I'm gonna put together a tokenomics summit for next week to kind of talk about that, because I want to get more of a state of the union on where tokenomics is at right now, but also where it's going. And I specifically mean mining, because mining's a bit nebulous for me even today. And I want it to get really, really clear for the future. So we're going to work on that as well. That's something that we're really excited about. And there's been a lot of proposals going through, and it's been great to see that the community's coming together and talking and getting things done. So very, very, very excited. And we're going to hopefully make it even easier, decrease the barrier entry for miners, and like from a coding perspective. So that's already happening. Some of these subnets are fantastic. Mosaic's doing great. Cynthia's doing great. We're in a good spot. Very excited.
Yeah, the subnets are definitely picking up. I've seen that a lot of them have sort of actually started being able to output useful things. I also saw Market Compass had a breakdown on their opening week of mining and things like that. So it's all very exciting. Make sure that you keep up to date with how they're going. And as
Yeah.
we said again, it feels like it's every single week, because it is every single week that incredibly interesting, innovative, and unique things are being brought up and being showcased to everyone. And that's what we want to be able to do here as well.
Yeah.
As
No, I
the
mean,
incredible team at Bulletin did.
yeah, no, it's fantastic. And like I said, we can string these together, because I know, let me think. I think it's Cynthia is working on, I believe, the synthetic data, which is great for training. So like we can start using that in conjunction with the AI models on Bulletin to make like really, really wicked smart AI models for news. Like those together would be really interesting, because Cynthia is about data sets, whereas this Bulletin one is about news aggregation. But it's just amazing, because if you can get this information and start using it together, these subnets, they can really work well synergistically. So it's very, very exciting. Like heretofore, there's also going to be like heretofore, there's been a lot of like, hey, let's use an API to access an AI model at OpenAI or OpenRouter, et cetera. And it's not that that's bad. In fact, that's a piece of the puzzle that we could use, but there's so much more we can do where we could be training custom models, and that's what Bolton's going to do with the news. But then with Cynthia, we can do it too, but on synthetic data. And synthetic data is really hot right now because it's fascinating. It's where you're getting AI to train itself because it's creating its own data to train itself on. So there's more to that. That's a oversimplification, but like there's right now we're in that like very beginning stage of getting those ground floor basic services going, and then when we start stringing them together, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be very, very interesting. So very excited to see that happen. And I think having
Absolutely.
subnet zero is kind of like the bootstrapping where where Bulletin is showcasing this is what we're working on, this is what we're doing, and then doing the pitch, and then having their validator there, and then people can support it or not. It's democratic, and then they're from there being able to be supported, and then they can launch their subnet. I think it's a clever way to do it. Really interesting. Very excited to see how this goes.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I'm very excited to see. I mean, it's sort of reaching the point where every single team that seems to be coming up with something, I just get more and more excited every time something new comes out or somebody else starts talking about what it is that they're developing on, and sort of the hype just keeps building up for myself anyway. I'm just enraptured with all of the ideas that everybody's coming up with.
It's super cool when you think about the fact that we're actually building the Lego pieces now, that just like Tim said, that you can pick this thing from one subnet, combine it with one from the second and maybe the third, and then you get the sum of those three is actually more than the sum of three, which is amazing. Can't wait for that, Tim.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm really excited about it. Like I said, we even just the foundational pieces alone are cool and interesting. But it's just it can grow and be more. I hate to use synergistic because it's such like a corporate tool term, but maybe collaborative is a better word. But it really is where we're syncing together these services and building it together. And it's kind of like a body where there's many parts to the body and each thing does its own job. But taking a step back, you're looking at a much bigger thing that can do more things
Right.
collectively. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Do we know if Fam is available at all?
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Hey guys, sorry about that. Today's a crazy day as usual, but
No,
yeah,
it's okay.
no, really great. Honestly, there's like too many projects to even keep track, which is why I'm not sure if some of you heard the announcement of the bounty system we built, and obviously it's not super perfect, but like we've been trying to do that for a while, and we felt that the existing platforms were, sufficient in a lot of like, let's say, management, but it was hard tracking things across platforms, so we ended up having to so like at least in this case we're going to test it next, like all future bounties obviously will have to go through this just for like us to manage and like let the community know what we're doing, and then hopefully we could so the goal after that would be to connect let's say the stakers to that platform and have them vote, and perhaps even use the treasury or even like part of the subnet wanted missions to essentially go to just bounties. Because right now it's mainly just like me supporting it.
Yeah.
And like that's cool, it's all right, but like I think it is a bottleneck for sure. It's not just me like reviewing it, I mean it's like mostly like me just like financially supporting these bounties, and like if we want to create a fully autonomous system as well as something that's more transparent, I think and something that's probably later on my bank account, but it's like it'd be nice to like use these emissions to essentially like basically the goal is to like have people who work more like contribute more to commune, not work more but contribute like more valuable things, get more tokens. That's kind of like the utility that we're trying to like strive for, and obviously there's so much speculative energy of like price go up, price go down, that like it's hard to fully peg that. But legally speaking, we need to peg that, because like if we if we don't say we're doing it, we're pegging it with anything, then technically it's security. But that's the reason why we're defining our token. Like we're not trying to define our token as utility. We're actually like I've said that many times. Like the whole point of this is to have the cost of running something, or the cost of like not the cost of running, but maybe how valuable it is to the network. Perhaps represented as market value. Like if someone builds something, and if it costs this much to build with like labor, and like how do we incentivize that? And right now it's pretty heuristic, but maybe as we become more like decentralized, as the DAO can vote on projects. I'm thinking like having the DAO vote maybe once a week, so everyone has to just vote once a week, and then they get like, let's say, if you vote that week, like instead of like, let's say, validators voting, we can just have stakers voting. Like we'll decide how to really do it. Because you can have the stakers vote, but maybe stakers don't want to vote all the time. Maybe they want to delegate it to someone else.
Yeah.
But the whole point is like, like we want people to have a voice, and like kind of like, instead of just me saying what's valuable, like other people can be like, hey, yeah, like, this is a cool idea, let's do this. Because I don't, there's a lot of ideas people have that are really good, and like it'd be nice to hear everyone's idea, because like most likely some of them are like very valuable for the community. I haven't even like thought of, or like, I just want to get people's opinions all into like a melting pot, and like kind of like the community decides what's like the best, what's the most valuable, and maybe every week we support like, well, technically we can support 10, we can support a lot of projects if we use our stake properly. Unfortunately, we're obviously in that changing period, but yeah, that's kind of like the goal. I want to take this at least with subnet 0. Like the other subnets obviously are less bounty oriented, more goal based oriented, so they're more like gamified. Whereas like subnet 0 is it's less gamified, but it's more like it's not like you're trying to like you're not trying to jump through a hoop. It's like you're trying to build something that might require like a week or 2 weeks to do, or you're trying to improve something or add something to an open source repo. Like, and I guess the issue is like, how do we avoid self voting? Like, how do stakers not just like vote for their own projects?
Yeah.
That's something we have to think about. Like, and we'll probably make some proposals next week. But yeah, that's kind of the direction that we're going into, as well as like our pricing system. Like we're obviously thinking about many ways of how do we scale Commune. And then like like I'd be talking to Cons like offline about like how do we fix the volatility, because like we're thinking of doing a slightly different version of dynamic tau, but like the issue with dynamic tau is the volatility. And if I'm a large staker, I could easily manipulate the price by like staking onto a subnet first, and then when other people stake on, I just unstake, and then I'm basically taking all their money. Like so we're trying to not have that. We're trying to not have pump and dumps on, like, if we decide to go that direction. And we do have a few potential solutions that are actually not difficult to implement, in my opinion. It's just about like deciding which one's the best, and then let the community vote and approve it. And so hopefully that will be in, like, that proposal can be done next week, by like the blockchain team. Also, like we just want to like, I'll be honest, I don't like the 5 million minimum stake. I really don't like that. Like that wasn't my decision. I was totally against it. But I do respect the motive for it, which is to remove like naive self voting. Yeah, like those are. But anyways, like the whole problem we're all trying to solve, like us, BitTensor, all the whole in the crypto industry, we're all trying to solve. How do you ensure? How do you incentivize honesty? Or even if there's dishonesty, how do you incentivize it? Apparently, like it's people think that it's stake-based voting, where a majority of stake decides it, and I don't think that's a full solution. I think we have a lot of math tools that are at our disposal to make it to make more elegant solutions that don't require 51% honest stake. Like but it's just hard. It's just like, if you do impose these rules, it's kind of like how I've included the trust matrix. Once you include these transformations, you make the game harder to understand. But yeah, like we're iterating, and yeah, like this is kind of like we're kind of an interesting protocol, but we're both doing subnets, and we're doing like these kind of like just standalone modules. And the beautiful thing about a module is that it can be subnet, it could be a module, it can be it can be an application, it can be a web app, it could be like a house. But we're starting with subnets and modules, and I think the whole point of subnet 0 is to essentially connect it with the bounty system and have like important applications be built weekly, whether they're open source or from scratch. We don't care if you take a repo off of online as long as you attribute it. And so, for those that are trying to do bounties, if you give us a repo and there's no commit history, and if you have like 3 commits in your whole like GitHub account history, then it's going to be very hard for you to get a bounty. It might take weeks for you to get a bounty. Whereas if you had everything, like if you had all the commits, so I've seen that you've done like projects for like at least a year, you have at least some like history of GitHub. Then it'll be easier. It doesn't. Like, we don't want to fully exclude you if you just have a new account. Like maybe you want to be anonymous, but there's just too many of that, and like it just tells me that you just copied it from somewhere else. So maybe that should be a bounty. Like how do we detect plagiarism, or what? Not plagiarism, but whether something was copied? Because I feel like it's pretty easy to detect if you search GitHub.
Yeah, I mean the issue's not so much like people taking other people's work to build from. It's just them taking the work to then present as their own, right? Like it's fine. The whole point of open source is to work collaboratively and use what other people have already used to continue building. The problem is when you take it and you don't continue to build.
Yeah, and so it's good to focus on completions and not and only incentivize like milestones. Like if something's like even if nothing fully has to work, like it just has to be usable. Like I think we're like both like BitTensor's got some slack on this too. Less so much because we're not as well known, but people are like saying, why is this worth $1 billion, or why is it worth billions of dollars? Like, I can do for like a fraction of the price on like other Web2 services. And so a lot of like the criticism is more so towards what's the utility, what are the apps,
Use cases.
like what are the use cases? Yeah, like are people using this? And the true answer is probably not. Like they're probably not using it as much as the value of it is, but it's probably because both BitTensor and we are in a speculative initial bubble, and in order for us to survive, we need to have utility. Like that's what I've been saying since day one. That's why I've been focusing a lot on the bounty program, and unfortunately not as much on the incentives. Right now we have obviously a blockchain team to focus more on the incentives, while I obviously like work with the bounties a bit. But the reason why I was doing that was because I knew that like we could pump out a lot of different applications, and then we'll hone in on the ones that we like the most. And so like, and a lot of these like products that you see online are literally open source applications wrapped under like a closed source license. So like if we just show that it takes like to build something, like to build Airbnb for instance, it took us like just to create a decentralized version of it. Obviously it's not the same scale, but just to build like the foundations of it, it's like it costs like probably like $3,000. Like whereas if you're to if your Airbnb probably had millions of funding. And this is going to be more and more possible. Like applications are going to become more and more cheaper with the advent of like these tools, these AI tools. So like, we want to just pump out really good applications. And then obviously we want to be fair in the pricing too. Like I don't want people to starve. Like for like, we don't like, we have to figure that out. Like what's a fair way to price work? Because has been times where people have lied. Like they're like, we've gone through like a lot. I'm sure some of you might still be in the issue, and it was unfortunate. Some of their work was actually pretty good, but a lot of the work was kind of like, half-assed. And like, and my problem, me being naive, was that I couldn't like pay. Like I didn't know. Like I was like, okay, like this is like sure, like this seems like a fair amount. But then I realized it was like mostly going to this one guy. And then I'm like, wait, you guys are all like fucking me over because this guy's clearly breaking it. and you're getting 10%, and which means it's just like, and so we just need to like, I think after that I did a really big revamp on like, or not. It wasn't me. It was because I didn't realize that it was people around me that helped me realize it, or they showed me, hey, this is what's happening, and then and so my reaction to that, oh, I'm just not gonna pay and back a lot of funds because I was just like really just felt like I felt hurt because it was just like you trust people for no reason. Like I gave people their trust for like they didn't deserve it, but it just says that you can't trust anyone in this space. And so we have to just play like by those rules. We can't like in order for me to trust you, you're gonna have to like I have to earn you have to earn the trust now. Like before, it was easy to get my trust, but now it's gonna be a bit harder, and I'm gonna be more scrutiny. Like I'll have more scrutiny on like, okay, I'm gonna pay you if I have these criteria done, and that's why we have the bounty system. Like,
Yeah.
because yeah, we have to run a tight ship. Like it's I'm I'm yeah, like I'm really good at I'm really cheap, I think sometimes, but I'm really good at like managing costs. Like, like to help build this blockchain stuff, like a lot of companies, a lot of startups would require like millions of dollars of like, VC funding. But
Yeah.
I did it with like, just like probably less than 50 to 100K of just like working on myself. And it's just like I feel like you can make things a lot cheaper than they actually are because a lot of like when you
Yeah.
get like let's say $100 million, it's like a lot of it's fluff. You'll probably spend it on pointless shit like
Well,
like
yeah,
buying like an office or something.
we've taken it from the perspective of building from the bottom up instead of the top down. Instead of
Yeah,
allocating like way more than maybe you'll potentially need, it sort of start from the bottom and iterate and iterate and iterate over time to sort of incrementally reach that point, as opposed to, sort of having an overbearing amount and wasting a lot of it. It's like arguably the better way of doing things is to sort of work your way from the bottom up, and that's why it seems like there's so many things changing all the time, and that's just because you plug a hole and as you keep building, obviously there will be more holes and you keep plugging them, but eventually you've got this incredibly stable boat that's gonna sail the seas as far as you need it to.
yeah, yeah. We have to, and yeah, it's there's a lot of obviously the way I think of it is like it's like when you fix something, something else happens,
Yeah.
and so like that's why Cool Razor has been trying to push me into just better practices, and I'll be honest, like yeah, my practices are pretty shit a lot of the time in terms
But
of
we
like
get there, right?
certain coding standards. No, but it's not like it's like I feel like it's a bit of my stubbornness that I'm like I don't need these coding standards. Like I'm creating my own standards, but then that shoots me in the foot obviously many a time. So like I'm trying to like learn a good balance of like okay, what standards do I think will help me a lot, and because I don't like these standards are there for a reason, and I'm just ignoring them, and I'm probably recreating a lot of the preventable issues.
Well, I mean, some
Yeah, I
people say
mean,
don't reinvent the wheel, but others say, you have to be crazy to innovate. So there's obviously somewhere in between where everybody's
there's for
actually
sure
correct.
a balance, right? Like
Mm.
we all have to work together, right? And you if you have ultimate freedom and everyone reinvents everything, then nothing works. And what I mean by that is like even right now, what are we doing? We're talking, we're communicating. Well, if you say standards are pointless, and I know you're not saying that, that's not what I'm saying. It's just as a hypothetical. If you say standards are pointless, well, then we don't have the definition of the words we're using. Right now, we are
Mm.
using the standard of English to communicate, right?
Mm.
So, and we can, and there's flexibility in there, like Crenshaw has, a dialect that's slightly different from his geographical background than from mine and from yours, fam. We can have some flexibility there, but we have to have a baseline
Mm-hmm.
to make a famous reference that's I think it's kind of funny right now, but maybe none of you will get it. But we have to know what the definition of is. And the thing is that's true. We really
Mm.
do have to have a baseline of standards. I think what may be beneficial is I could go over the very small baseline of checks and balances I put into the pipelines and make sure that we're adhering to that because we're not right now. I built them and then they're getting
Mm.
ignored. If we could get those implemented and used, then we won't be checking in code that doesn't work. And I'm continuously seeing that happen. So, and I could show you guys. So I think what would make sense is if I do that. It's really, really easy to update. I've made it super, super easy. So I think it would be smart to do that. And anytime somebody adds a feature, add a test. Really easy. Just a command, super easy. We can do this. So I'll schedule that for next week, because there's like a technical maturity that comes with an organization that's growing, right? In the beginning, it's like Wild West, and we just like we put our laptop next to our buddy, and we're like, hey, look at this. This is how this works. Oh, okay. And that all works. That's all great. That's great, and that's very hackathon. But this isn't a hackathon anymore, right?
No.
We've definitely elevated to another level, and I'm not about being litigious to the point where it's like you guys have to have like having a coding standard documentation. I've come from that. I've seen that where it's like, hey, if you're going to write a variable, you have to write it this way. Like I've actually seen that, right? And no, that's not appropriate here. So, but we do have to have it where people aren't breaking other people's stuff or even breaking their own stuff. And that is happening currently. So I do think we are getting there. We have the pipelines, they just need to be used. So I think putting that together next week is something I'm going to work on as well. Do a little show and tell for any devs who might be interested to see on the Commune repo how easy it is to edit that and how easy it is to check if your code is breaking something. So luckily we have a lot of evidence there, so I can show you guys. It's real easy, and then we'll go from there. But I think it would be really beneficial to this Commune repo and the Commune community, so that we can have some more stability, because I think we would all agree that that would be very wanted and very needed. So looking forward to it. But yeah, just on a positive, I'm super excited. I think the changes and proposals that have gone in have been excellent, and we'll continue to pivot and make amendments as we go. I know some more are coming up. I don't know what's going to happen for the minimum stake for the subnets, but I imagine that will probably, ebb and flow over the coming weeks as we figure out our cadence. But I'm excited about that too. I think this is going to be really good. Like I said, I want to do that tokenomics summit again and kind of get an idea of where we're headed, because mining is really strange right now, and I want to make it very clear for everybody so that everyone can mine and everyone will understand how it's working. So I think we're in a really good spot. A lot of good things are changing. I think the DAO is fantastic. It's a great idea. And there's just a lot of good things going on right now, and I want to stay positive in these meetings. So I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really great.
Yeah, I think the DAO. I'm not sure. Like the DAO has, I think, accrued already like 30 to 40,000 since we implemented it, or since we enabled it. So like, I think each day it's about like almost 10,000 tokens that it's just like sitting. It's literally be sitting, waiting to be like voted on how it will be distributed. So I think like locking that up is good, and like democratically distributing it, because I do agree that the subnet zero is like the whole point of it was to be a Wild West, and I do think that we're a bit too early for perhaps a design like that, because and I do take blame for not making certain things more obvious, because it's not necessarily too difficult if you know what you're doing. Unfortunately, the way to understand that is a bit tedious, I think. And we're just trying to make it easier. But the way I kind of wanted, like my ideal when I was building it was basically, I wanted anyone to like create a validator that defined whatever they defined as a problem, and then they stake to it. And then if people would see that, and then they would like try to solve that problem. So this would make things very flexible, very interoperable, but also hard because of that interoperability and flexibility. People don't know where to start. So that, I think that was a big problem that we had from the start. We could have fixed it, or I could have done more to fix it. But I do think that this direction we're going into is a good transition. But I think long term in the future, we're going to return back to this general network. I think it's just that I think it just wasn't ready for the way we were doing it. At least, yeah, like I don't know. But yeah, we're improving. We're trying to improve, trying to iterate.
Definitely. Yeah, without a doubt. Before we close off, though, I do just want to once again shout out that the bulletin team who presented today. I put all of the links required in the events discussion channel. And again, I would urge everybody who saw the potential in that to please support them, because it's exactly projects like this that are showing how far Commune can reach.
Yeah. 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 No, it's great. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like feel free to make any suggestions in terms of projects you think are cool. Like people have come to me with different project ideas, and a lot of them are really cool, like really useful. But yeah, I think right now we're gonna try to have a place where you can like what I'm trying to build on the side is like, or with someone is basically like, how do we have all of these projects in one place? So when you click on it, it goes right to the web page of that project.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of unifies the staking experience with the app experience. Like if you want to stake a project, you can use it. Stake, let's say, a certain amount, then maybe you get certain like privileges, like maybe more calls, or you get to use certain features. Like we want to use a staking economy where the more you stake to someone, the more you're helping them out, like support their work, and then the more, so that person will probably want to incentivize that. So like maybe they're like, oh, if you stake to me this much, then I'll give you like these extra models, like these models that I've been working on that solve this problem, or like these like special models that I've been working on.
Yeah. I mean, we want to get
yeah.
tokens moving, right?
Sorry?
We just want to get tokens moving for the most part. We don't want people sitting
Yeah.
idly. We want them using them to support things. And I think we are actually starting to see these places where people can actually direct their tokens to projects that are actually building things with use case. Because again, that's something that's ravaging the AI-centric area of Web3 development is use case, especially within BitTensor, the BitTensor project, and within ourselves. And so finally actually seeing projects that have use cases is such a leap forwards. So I'm definitely super excited. But if there's nothing else that anybody wants to talk about or showcase as of today, I think we're probably going to wind it down.
Cool.
If anybody
Yeah.
has any last minute additions. But otherwise, if not, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming along, and thank you again to the Bulletin team for their presentation. That was great, and Cool Razor for the sneak peek at the Vector store. Gonna look forward to that and the additions to the code documentation. And we hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, you too. Likewise. Good weekend, guys.
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.